Sanders Monday, delivering an impassioned speech in support of the Democratic candidate at a Sanders rally in Atlanta.
I have to tell you that in my heart of hearts, I truly believe that Senator Bernie Sanders is the right man to lead this country. Make sure that wherever you go, you take the name, the ideas, the philosophy, and the ideology of Bernie Sanders there, and you make sure when you leave, they are on fire because they have felt the burn.
Killer Mike, who is active in the Black Lives Matter movement, says he spent 5 hours showing Sanders around his native Atlanta, including taking him to lunch at the city's famous soul food restaurant, the Busy Bee. As he endorsed Sanders, he cited the senator's stance on Voting Rights Act, health care, education, and ending the war on drugs. The endorsement could also be an important moment for the Black Lives Matter movement. Sean King, one of the leading Black Lives Matter voices, writes it this way. By and large, folk don't care what Drake or Future think about politics, but Killer Mike has built real credibility in the activism space, and his endorsement mattered. The question now, will that translate to votes? And joining me now, the editor-in-chief of Ebony magazine, Kieran Mayo. Ebony named Black Lives Matter to its new Power 100 list. On the cover, noted celebrity activist Jesse Williams, the great Harry Belafonte, and actress Zendaya. Thank you so much for joining us here. Let's pick up on the comment regarding what Sean King said, that people don't care what Drake or Future, both very popular entertainers, rappers, that they are looking to people like Killer Mike, people who are like on that list that you assembled for Ebony.
I understand that comment. I'm not sure I agree 100%. I think that there is inherent power in celebrity. People are curious as to what most celebrities are thinking about, either politically or otherwise. But there is something very special about Killer Mike and about any young person who aligns themselves with either the Black Lives Matter movement per se, or activism, or black resistance at large. I think when you do that and you look like Killer Mike and you've been invited to endorse, that's a grand statement.
Well, you know, when you go look at the Black Lives Matter movement, there wasn't a one celebrity who pulled this group. These were people whose names you will never know, and the celebrities then followed. And perhaps that's what Sean King is speaking of. It's different perhaps when we saw Harry Belafonte right on the front lines with Martin Luther King. There's no celebrity, it's the people.
Yes, and I think that and the power is there, and I agree with Sean 100% when he says that, because that's what he's implying, that the power is with the people ultimately, and that's what Killer Mike is representative of. He is representative of a voice that is so often unheard and certainly not tapped into at this stage of the political process. This is relatively new. I mean, we had King visiting with LBJ, but he was not exactly Killer Mike by definition.
Well, let's look at, for example, some of the polling out right now, and you have a sizable lead for Hillary Clinton in national polls, and when you break it down by race, Hillary Clinton leading in the black vote, some 62% right now to Bernie Sanders, 8%. Ebony obviously bringing these voices to the table in this new edition of the magazine. Yeah,
I mean, you know, the political process is one that's going to be really intense this cycle. I think no one makes it to the White House without black youth. No.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Karen, but again, the Ebony is out now. It's a powerful edition. I do have to go to breaking news right now. Let me now on the phone is Father Michael Flager, pastor of St. Sabina Baptist Church on the city's south side, a prominent activist in the city. He's met with protesters last night. Father, thank you so much for your time. As mentioned, I've watched you protest in the streets of Chicago for many years, whether it's gun laws in nearby states, the number of liquor stores you felt were too concentrated in minority neighborhoods. But for the past few years, your focus has been violence in the city and violence directed at young African Americans here. What are you hearing from the kids on the street that you were with last night?
Well, last night, Tamron, first of all, it's good to say hello to you and miss you here in Chicago. It was encouraging to see young people so strong and united out there in a very peaceful demonstration. There was a couple of skirmishes, and there's a lot of confusion about what was the cause of that, but was also the anger of young people of just saying enough, and the anger that was added to this by, as you all were just discussing, 13 months of a video that's been seen and nothing done. The state's attorney remained silent until yesterday. The federal government still hasn't come out with anything. The police department did not fire him. And 13 months this guy's continuing to get paid. Also, yesterday, charges were filed to remove another officer, Officer Servin, who killed Rakia Boyd. And why it took so long after the police board said he should have been fired before the actions were taken by the police superintendent to fire him. You know, you can't ask people on the street to trust the system. And that's what we were saying last night. The system doesn't work when it's dealing with its own. And so people were out there last night were very angry, very frustrated, and we were constantly have been told, and I'm a part of that, saying, you know, we got to do this nonviolently, but we're not hearing the same message being given to the police department to say you've got to be nonviolent, you've got to be respectful, and you've got to be peaceful, and it works on both sides, and that's the missing ingredient, as well as it's the shameful act that nothing was done. You pay out a $5 million settlement. You've made a decision he's guilty. Why was he not fired that day?
What is your reaction to hearing Rahm Emanuel, the mayor, say that he would watch the video with the public, that over the course of a year, and to your point, the $5 million settlement, that he'd not seen this video?
Well, we had that conversation with probably 15 to 20 young people last night. Nobody believed that. Nobody believed that he had not seen a video when he would agreed for the city council to pay out $5 million. So I don't know if he did or he did not, but I can tell you in terms of the young people in the street last night, not a single person believed he had not seen it.
What happens next, Father Fleger?
Well, I think they're going to continue to have protests and demonstrations today and tomorrow. I've been telling people that we should boycott Black Friday. And if people want to do civil disobedience, will go down there in the street and the sidewalks of Michigan Avenue and say, let's do an economic boycott. I think we have to offer our young people options beyond saying just don't be violent. And I think one of the things that people listen to, we just saw this in Missouri. Why did they fire that president of the university? Because they were about to lose $1 million on that weekend. Money talks, and it's the economic boycott that Dr. King was leading us to before he was assassinated. So I'm hoping that we can continue to put a pressure on another way. But I also think, Tamron, that what has to be done is there has to be a complete renovation of the DNA, the culture in this police department and others around this country, because there is such a broken bridge that I've seen worse now than I've seen in a long time. We've got to renovate the entire police department culture and character.
Father Michael Fleger, thank you so much from St. Sabina Church over on the south side of Chicago. Thank you for your time, Father. The latest developments on all fronts here. Joining me now, live from Paris, former U.S. ambassador to the UN under President Bill Clinton, Bill Richardson. He's also former governor of New Mexico. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining me yet again here. Let's first assess what's playing out here with Turkey and Russia. Obviously, the timing of it with this meeting with President Obama and President Hollande. And this is all, as Richard Engel reported from Turkey, this is all an effort to coordinate these countries, and this adds to now yet another problem in doing that.
Well, it's going to complicate two factors. One, President Hollande is going to want more U.S.-Russia cooperation in the fight against ISIS. This is going to make it very difficult, this incident. And secondly, I think it shows the fragility of bringing a coalition together. You know, I know Russia probably violated the airspace, but I think Turkey can't be dismissed as a country that doesn't share the blame. I mean, Turkey is not helping with the Kurds. They're not opening a humanitarian corridor. What you have is Putin and Erdogan, two very unpredictable leaders with their own agenda. But certainly the short-term effect is going to be to complicate building an alliance, a coalition, a wartime coalition, which was President Hollande really wants. I mean, he is not popular at home, but he is his popularity has increased because of his wartime actions here in Paris. He's going all over the world to build a coalition to respond to these terrible attacks on the French people. And he deserves some support, but this is going to complicate his effort, not just with President Obama, but also as he goes around Europe and Russia to try to build this coalition.
And sir, to your point, as you offered up the critique regarding Turkey and its involvement, Russia as well, you have the situation in the UK where David Cameron went to his parliament to back airstrikes in Syria. They said no. He's now gone back again. But to have the French president come here to the U.S. and ask for President Obama and the U.S. to step up its pressure on Syria, you have the White House and the administration saying, listen, we have been pulling our weight here. It is the rest of the world, perhaps, who now take this ISIS threat seriously after the Paris terror attacks and what we've seen in Belgium, but that the U.S., whether you think the airstrikes have been effective or not, has certainly stepped up in a role far more than any other country.
Well, I do think that President Obama and the U.S., they have helped the French in the target of that capital of ISIS. There is increased military coordination. I suspect there will be more aerial airstrikes. My view is that we should have a no-fly zone. I know it's a little risky, but I think that is needed. I think that support eventually for a no-fly zone is going to happen. I think that it's inevitable that it happen. But President Hollande, I think, deserves enormous credit for trying to unite this coalition. But in the end, the American people, even in Europe, they don't want to put ground forces. So the ground forces are going to have to be Turkey. They're going to have to be the Kurds. And this is where I think Turkey is not helping. They're bombing the Kurds. They're not opening the humanitarian corridors. This incident with Russia possibly could have been avoided. You know, they're not stepping up. So I think the key is to build a broad coalition, but now with France participating in airstrikes, that is very, very useful to this coalition, and hopefully Britain will do the same.
Well, to your point, after his visit in the White House, Hollande will then travel to meet with Putin and Angela Merkel. So to your point, he is attempting to pull together this coalition at a time, a very tricky time now with the news we woke up to today regarding the developments with Turkey and Russia. Ambassador, thank you so much for your time. It's always incredible to have your insight on these things. Thank you.